creative living, utilizing today's technology with the best of the past to bring you innovative ideas and up-to-date information for creative lifestyles in today's active world. With your host, Sheryl Borden.
Welcome to Creative Living today. We're going to learn how to make money as you travel. We'll show some cake decorating tips and techniques and also discuss some common cat health problems. One of my guests is Yvonne Linnelli, and she's a writer and photographer, and she's going to share some suggestions for ways to make money while traveling to your exciting destinations. These include writing, making presentations on cruise ships, or even organizing your own tour group. Yvonne lives in Alto, New Mexico. Another guest is Nancy Seiler, and she's with Wilton Brands in Woodridge, Illinois. Nancy's going to show how to do a variety of techniques that make decorating cupcakes, cookies, and other delicacies even easier. Recent studies show that cat obesity has risen over 90% since 2007, and people are beginning to look at their pet food as the source of some of these health problems. My first guest is Will Post, and he's the owner of Hound and Gatto's Pet Food Corporation, and he's going to talk about some common cat health problems and tell what to do about them. He lives in Atlanta, Georgia. Well, thank you so much for being here. This is a first. I've talked to a lot of chefs about people food, but this is the first time I've had the opportunity to talk about pet food, and we all have our pets, love them dearly. And when I was first reading some of the information that you sent, I thought I was reading about people.
Right.
Because the thing that caught my attention, because I have a cat, she's not obese though, I want to point that out, was that obesity is a huge health problem with cats. And maybe with some dogs too.
It is with dogs and cats especially, people too. But the problem is what we're doing is filling up these products, whether it's a dry kibble or a canned product, we're filling them up with grains. We're filling up with wheat and corn, soy, and things like that. And these animals were never created to eat these carbs. And you know, some of the carbs turn into sugars and all that, and it is causing significant problems with obesity in the cats.
And probably most of us are guilty of going to the grocery store, and if we have a flyer or a coupon, we buy whatever is the cheapest or whatever ad we just saw on television.
Right.
Instead of looking. I've never read a cat food label.
Well, we should, but the problem with a lot of cat food brands out there is it's filled with everything but meat. And I do believe, I do believe in the Paleolithic approach where animals were created to eat nothing but meat. But on these labels, if you read the labels, you'll see that the majority of it is like corn and the wheat and the soy. And when the cat consumes that its entire life, it is going to create significant health issues.
And one such health issue is dental disease.
Right, right. We should always take our cats and dogs to get their teeth cleaned and check out the gums and all that. But you always want to watch it. If the gums are red, it's a serious issue and you need to take care of it immediately with your vet.
Oh, And it can be corrected though, if you catch it early enough, I guess.
It's just like human beings with periodontal disease.
I see. What about skin problems on their fur, or is this attributed to pet food problems?
Right, right. You know, these pets are eating, you know, let's say 90–95% grains, and their bodies aren't equipped for it, and it's going to create the skin allergies, the stomach sensitivities and all that. So we really need to go out there and feed these pets all meat diets versus an all grain diet. And the more grains they do eat, they will have the skin allergies and the itching and scratching.
So pets have allergies just like people do?
They do.
They can?
They do.
Another disease, and I had never thought about cats having what's called a feline urinary tract disease. We know of people having urinary tract diseases a lot.
It's very important that our dogs and the cats, they need to drink a lot of water. And every time you feed your cats, you need to add water to the kibble, to the can. The great thing about the canned products out there, there is more water in can versus the dry kibble. But with these diseases out there, you know, you have to watch the water especially. You know, if there's a lot of iron in it, a lot of calcium, it's definitely going to trigger some wrong buttons for that cat.
Oh, so then you're talking about bottled water or something out of a filter?
I recommend buying spring water for the cats, okay? You know, I learned the hard way with one of my dogs that, you know, I had excessive amounts of calcium, and excessive amounts of calcium in cats is very dangerous. But it came from my own water in the sink.
Well,
So
I never thought about that.
Today I give my cats 100% spring water.
Spring water.
Right.
I was talking to you earlier because I wondered if it was good or bad. As I mentioned, we have a cat. She's very particular about the cat food. Now, she likes the dry. I didn't realize that was not good for her, and we'll have to make a change. But what she really likes is tuna, people tuna, the
Right.
tuna out of the can like we would eat. Is
Right.
that okay for
Tuna
pets?
is excellent. It's a great protein source, and I do believe that you should give a single source protein. I do believe you should rotate those proteins. One day tuna, one day sardines or beef, whatever. But the tuna that you eat is just as good for that cat. And the bottom line is, the fact is that tuna is real tuna. It's not doctored up. It's not drugged up with chemicals to make it taste better. But I highly suggest it.
Well, and I've talked to lots of dietitians on the show about how important it is to read labels, and I was just noticing on the can, one of the cans of your pet food, and it does immediately say no soy, no grains, no preservatives. So if it doesn't say that, we can probably be assured that it is in the product that we're buying.
Most likely, yes. And what I tell my consumers, I hear them every day, I talk to them on the phone. What we're doing to pets nowadays, it's no different than you go to the gas station and filling your tank up with 90% water and then adding 10% fuel. What we're doing here with other brands out there, they're filling that up with corn, grains, wheat, soy, whatever, and then they might add 10% or 5% meat. And like I said, cats were created to eat meat. So.
And I like your point about varying it too.
Right.
Now, sometimes I know I've tried different types of cat food, and my cat will only eat one brand. So do they get particular about it too, or is it just because she thinks she's never going to get anything else?
Well, that's a tricky question. And what I always think about that is that there are companies out there that put a chemical taste in there. So it always will taste good. They'll never have a rejection. I don't add any chemicals to my products whatsoever. It's 100% meat, and there's nothing in there. There's no grains, nothing.
Well, I think a lot of it will come probably if we just wean them off of what we're supposedly the bad things that they're eating.
Right.
So, well, I really appreciate you being here and pointing some things out. I've never thought about all of this having to do, and I love my cat as much as my kids. Thank you very much, Will.
Thank you very much.
Nancy, thank you so much for being here today. I have always enjoyed a cupcake better than a piece of cake. It can be the same cake, the same icing and everything, but it's just knowing it's in those individualized little liners.
It's just for you.
It's just for me. I guess I hadn't thought about it that way. But you've really given a new look to cupcake liners themselves.
Well, yes, there's so many different patterns out on the market. There's you know, some that look like flowers and scallops, and then there's, Wilton has introduced color cups, which actually the color retains when you bake it. Because, you know, sometimes with the baked goods, you don't get that clear, vivid color as much. So, you know, that's something new for us. But, you know, it's kind of a whole different chapter in cupcakes. They're not like the cupcakes that I grew up with.
No.
And I'm kind of excited to show you some of the different things that you can do with them.
Well, let's take a look, and everybody then can see what you're going to decorate. I love the ones with the little monkey on the top holding his banana, and that has a party theme look to it with the liner right there. That just makes you in a party mood.
Absolutely.
And then the little bumblebees, I thought that was really cute with the, what would you call that, kind of a grass flower design on the cupcake liner?
We just call it a petal cup, and it comes in a bunch of different colors, so you could match it with any color that you wanted, or you could mix and match them. And you know, I put a 1M swirl on top of that, but you could just spatula ice those cupcakes and leave them plain, and people would go, wow.
And once you put those little bitty bees on top, it's great. And now the variegated, that's kind of a new look.
Ombre is a huge trend. You'll see it in clothing. You'll also see it in food. A lot of people are coloring their cake mix so that it's graduated in different shades. So
Never thought about it.
yeah, so that's really a hot looking color. But you know, let's talk about basic baking of your cupcakes. Most everybody has a muffin pan. There are some baking cups on the market where you can just put them on a cookie sheet. You don't have to put them, but you want to make sure that they're the right ones. Otherwise, make sure you put them in a baking pan. And you want to make sure you fill your cupcake pan or your cavity 2/3 full, so you get a good dome, and you don't have, like, you know, some of them that are that, some of them that are that tall. And one of the things that we've come out with is this is a perfect fill batter tip, and you can see it's like a coupler, a decorating coupler.
That's what I thought it was.
And then you just screw it on like you would a decorating coupler, but there's a silicone feed here, so when you're squeezing your batter out, it comes out into directly into your cavity. And then when you stop, it stops. So you don't have any drips, and you don't get drips all over here, because I don't like to bake the drips, because then you have to kind of clean the pan. I don't like cleaning very much. And then, you know, it just makes it so much easier. And if you try to use a spoon or something like that, sometimes you're still dripping, but this is just a perfect way.
So in other words, you put the cake batter inside
the
this.
bag.
I see. Well,
so that's one way to do it.
that.
But the main point here is make sure you fill it 2/3 full, so you get a nice bake. So here I have a baking cup, and it's kind of plain. And so what I thought I'd do is fill this. This is a Bismarck tip, so it's a long and narrow tip, and I have raspberry jelly in here. You could also do icing. You can see the raspberry jelly is a little oozy, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stick this in, and then you can't really see very much of it, but I'll have that on top. If you don't like that, when you want to put your buttercream on, you can just wipe it off like that. But that way you have a filled cupcake, so when you bite into it, you know, there's
sort
a nice
of a special
filling to it.
treat.
You can also do it with icing. You can do it with colored icing, so there's all sorts of things that you could do. Now, I want to show you how to ice a cupcake. Now, I've always used the angled spatula. We also have this cupcake spatula that you can use so that you pick up a lot more icing. You want to make sure you get enough icing, and then you just come around. You put it in the center, and you just come around until you get to the outside. Now, when I grew up, when I first started baking, you absolutely had to go to the entire outside. Now a lot of people are leaving a little bit of the cupcake look there so that you actually see some of the baked goods.
Oh, I didn't know
you can
that.
see it there. Now, okay, that isn't the greatest. I mean, I could come around and finish it off, but here's another look that you can do.
I like that.
And that way, nobody says, oh, she didn't ice it perfectly, or she's got a line. It just looks really, you know, kind of nice.
It almost looks like you use that grass tip.
233 is the grass tip.
233.
And then these are just some sprinkles to put on top, so you can see you don't have to do a great job. You don't have to be a perfect icer to enjoy a cupcake. Now, after you graduated from flat icing or, you know, points up and down, this is a 1M tip, and so it's a large star tip. And with that, you start in the middle, you start squeezing, and then you come around the outside perimeter
without letting
to the center, without letting up.
Almost like an ice cream machine.
Yes. Everybody's familiar with that now. You self-serve your own. So then I'm putting a little colored sugars on top.
Oh, and
here's our little monkey.
How cute.
To kind of sank in the icing. And then if you wanted to do your bees, this is in the petal cup. So again, you start in the center, and that helps because you get a higher mound, and you just go around. And then you can just put your little bees. Oh, you know, let's put some yellow jimmies on top. You got to embellish these cupcakes. And so you see that kind of blends in. You could do a contrasting color if you wanted to, and I'll just put one single little guy on top. But those are just, it's a 6 cell so that you have different colors on that. Then for the last one, this is a round tip, and this is a 2A, and it's a larger tip, so it's similar to, you know, your 1M. And so
this is what you're calling ombre, because it starts darker at the bottom.
And you just go around, and you keep kind of coming toward the center. And then you can see the graduated of the pink.
Colors.
And I did start in the middle, so I'm going to kind of cheat and just put a little more there. And you just keep going around. And I'm just going to, because this is a smaller cupcake than what I have out there.
Very pale pink.
So you can see that it just kind of graduates up. And then I'm going to put a couple of sprinkles.
And it's a good idea to work in something so you can catch the things, because I never throw any of it away. I just put it back in the little container.
I don't either. And so that just, you
How
know, is how you
easy.
do the ombre cupcake. So, you know, hopefully this inspires people to try a number of different things. We have something that looks whimsical, we have something that's semi-whimsical, semi-adult, and then we have what I would
Very
say would be a
elegant.
little bit more elegant looking.
It really is. Well, just the cupcake liners themselves already tell you sort of what to do with it, so it's nice to have those already on the market ready to go.
Absolutely, but these are just so much fun, and again, an individual treat just for you.
Just for you. Well, thank you for showing us. I appreciate it, Nancy. Yvonne, it's such a pleasure to have you here. We've known each other many, many, many years, and after your husband passed away, you became a business in and of yourself, and you like to travel, obviously, because you've traveled worldwide. What made you do that, and how were you able to turn that into making money? And I think a lot of people might like to think, hey, that could be a good business for me.
Well, I am a writer and a photographer, and I have a journalism background, and I was always a freelance writer for our local paper. When I found myself traveling, I discovered a whole new world, a whole new career as a travel writer, photographer. As a freelancer, I will sell or write to any publication that is interested in what I have to say, and our viewers can do the same thing if they have an inclination to do that.
But who do you contact first? How do you get started?
Well, everyone always asks, do you go on the trip and then write the story, or do you ask the editor to send you on a trip? Well, as a freelancer, you're not going to get any freebies. Those plum assignments that you read about in Travel and Leisure, those go to the staff who've been working their little bodies off to get themselves that kind of privilege. So as a freelancer, I take the trip, I enjoy it, I take copious notes, copious pictures, and then when I am home, I go through different magazines and newspapers and see what their needs are and how an aspect of my trip can apply to that.
And it could be entertainment, it could be food reviews.
That's very big now, yes.
There are lots of things you could do. I hadn't thought about it.
With one trip, for example, a recent trip that I made to Chile in August to ski. Now there are half a dozen story ideas there. Single female goes skiing, that appeals to one market. The food, the sport, the culture.
Lodging.
The lodging, and again, all these different articles from one trip to different magazines with different focuses.
And if it is just within a short period of time, it could be 2 or 3 years out that you could write an article and it could still be pertinent.
Absolutely, as long as you verify the information to update it. But again, that's why I take copious notes and copious pictures, because one cannot rely on one's memory. So yes, absolutely. The mountains never change, so that ski trip is going to be valid 5 years from now.
That's interesting. Well, we've talked before about how we can appear to be a traveler immediately or a tourist, you know, with our camera always taking pictures. But what are some other tips you could tell us about sightseeing and how to make the most of whatever time we have, even if it's only a 15-minute tour of a certain cathedral?
Well, I hate to say the word research because that sounds like a lot of effort, but really and truly that is the key. Doing your research, especially online or with an actual physical travel guide, is key to knowing, well, you'd hate to get there on a Monday and find out the museum is closed on Monday, and you specifically went to London so you could see that museum, for example. Or you're visiting one of the pueblos up in the northern part of New Mexico, and oh my goodness, they're having a feast day. Well, you have to know that ahead of time so you won't be disappointed.
Okay, so that research ahead of time. And I thought one of the best tips I read that I had seen ahead of time was about don't consult your map or your guidebook standing out there on the corner. It's pretty obvious you don't know what you're doing if you're doing that.
Absolutely.
But where do you do that?
Believe it or not, I go to church.
Okay.
And it's not because I'm religious, but if I need to look at a map to find out where I am or where to get somewhere, I'll just find a local church somewhere, nip in really quick, use my little flashlight keychain, and find out exactly where I'm going, and that's a lot safer.
I thought that was a really good tip.
Thank
and
you.
also, I thought another good one was you're staying at a hotel or a motel or some type of lodging facility. Pick up one of their cards at the front desk, because when you're in a foreign country or even a state that you've never been in before, it's awfully hard to remember the name of the hotel.
Exactly, and if there are hotels with similar names, how are you going to tell the taxi driver, I want to go to this one and not that one, especially if you don't speak the language, or if perhaps your taxi driver doesn't speak your language. But if you have a card, just a simple little calling card that you picked up at the front desk, whip it out, there it is.
That's right, and you can just show it so you don't have to
Exactly.
communicate. That was a good tip. What about scams? We always hear about, don't carry your purse on your shoulder because it would be easy for a pickpocketer to take. What are some other scams we should be aware of?
Oh, the pickpocketing scam is the most common, and you've brought up an extremely important aspect, and that is if you wear a bag or a purse or a wallet, make sure that it is across your body and not simply slung over one shoulder. Men like to carry their wallets in their hip pocket. That is a pickpocket's favorite place. And so put that wallet in your front pocket or inside a neck wallet inside your shirt.
Or in a jacket pocket.
Or in a
they
jacket
could put
pocket.
it in there.
Well, actually, a blazer like this can be pickpocketed
Is
very
that right?
easily. Someone bumps you, they pick it in, they give it to their accomplice, and you never feel a thing. And if you notice it, you look around, you won't have any idea who it was.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that.
That's right. No, keep it next to your body or in your front pocket. There are very few pickpockets that are going to go in your front pocket.
Okay. Now, what about, I thought the story about the baby, I thought, what a tragic thing to do just to pickpocket someone.
It's so tragic, but there are some cultures in the world that look upon Americans as prime real estate. They will do anything to get into our luggage, into our bags, and so they have come up with horrible, ugly things. You'll be passing a family, and all of a sudden someone will yell, "My baby!" and they'll throw what looks like a baby at you. You'll drop what you have, grab the baby, it's a doll. And in the meantime, your stuff is gone.
I know when I read about that, I thought that's exactly what you would do. All
It's
of
an
us
impulse,
would.
and everybody in the world knows that Americans are friendly and easy. So if someone yells, "My baby," just steel yourself ahead of time that regardless of what anybody says to you or does to you, you are not going to respond, regardless of what they do. There's the old ketchup and mustard thing, too. Have you heard of that one? Oh, you'll be walking down the street of a big city and some hoodlum type will come along and spray you with mustard or ketchup. Some very helpful local, very well dressed, will come up to you and say, "Oh, crime is terrible in the city. Oh, shame on," and they'll wipe, well, while they're wiping you down and being helpful, they're picking your pockets.
Oh my goodness.
If that happens to you, and again, steel yourself.
Just keep walking
Just
with
keep walking, ignore them. They are not helpful. They are trying to get you.
That's a good one, or a bad one, I should say.
Or a bad one.
What about politeness? I know in some countries Americans aren't looked upon as being as friendly as we would like for them to know we are. What can we do?
I think perhaps the most polite thing we as Americans can do is to learn a few words of the local language. Don't assume that everyone speaks English, and for heaven's sakes, don't speak louder than I know you'll understand me. That doesn't work either. But okay, maybe your high school Spanish isn't all that fluent, but if you at least make the attempt, the locals are going to feel so much appreciative. And if you're in a country, say Malaysia or China, where you didn't have those languages in high school, you can still find a phrase book or even online and learn how to say hello and thank you. If you learn at least those two words in your foreign country, you will be rewarded with smiles, graciousness, and you never know, they may speak responding to you in much better English than you ever would have anticipated.
I thought that was good. And now they even have computer programs that you can have your cell phone and type in the word bathroom, for instance, then see what the word is. But you do need to, like you say, practice ahead of time. You don't want to sound like a dummy when you're doing that.
And even if you do, that makes them laugh and they smile.
That's really good. Well, you've really shared some good information, and your travels have been so interesting, and you are such a good writer that it really makes those of us reading your articles feel like we've been there too.
Thank you very much.
I hope you enjoyed the show today. Next time on Creative Living, we'll learn how to turn some old pieces of furniture into new-looking treasures, and we'll talk about optical illusions and how it pertains to interior design. Remember the old saying, what goes around comes around? People are still antiquing furniture, but the products are just different. One of my guests on the next show is going to demonstrate a recipe to make your own do-it-yourself chalk paint, and then she'll show how to use it on a variety of projects. Chalk paint is so easy to work with, it usually only takes one coat, and there's no sanding or priming required. We'll also talk to an interior designer who will explain how optical illusions can change the perception of space when designing an interior. She'll show how different illusions apply to a room. It's a very interesting concept. I hope you'll plan to join me next time for Creative Living.
We are very pleased to offer a special booklet that accompanies this series of Creative Living. We are celebrating our 40th year on PBS. This booklet is titled the 40th Anniversary Series, and it features a wonderful collection of ideas and information, and it's available free of charge on our website. Posted as a PDF file, you can simply download the entire booklet or just the segments you're most interested in. For your copy of this commemorative booklet, go to our website at kenw.org and then click on Creative Living. Scroll down to the booklet section and you can click on this booklet or on any of the other booklets we have available online. We would like to invite you to sign up for our free e-newsletter too. Go to kenw.org and click on the Sign Up Now button and input your email address. That's all there is to it. We would also like to ask you to become a fan of Creative Living on Facebook. Go to facebook.com and in the search window type in Creative Living with Sheryl Borden. Thanks so much. We look forward to hearing from you.